I mean,
Fell up.
just one of us
Fell up,
up.
bro.
We got the other guys joining in soon.
The
Sherrod Blakely,
fella.
Bobby Manning out in Brooklyn to recap this one. Another blowout win for the Boston Celtics, 129 to 106. Jimmy Toscano's here. I am Josue Pavon. Another post-game show. Back from the
Another one.
All-Star break, and it's another big win for the Celtics, Jimmy. I mean, I guess this is to be expected, right, quote unquote, because of the Nets team and all the injuries and guys that weren't available. But you take this win, right? I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about before the All-Star break. Seeing the Celtics continue this momentum after the break, if they're still going to be the same team, and I mean, so far so good, right, Jimmy?
Dude, so far so good. They picked up, basically where they left off. I know they technically lost to go into the All-Star break, but the way that they've been playing basketball overall, this is
Yeah,
the
we
same
forgot
team.
about that one already. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't even remember that game. I mean, they didn't have Marcus for that, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Right.
But, hey, you got Marcus Smart back tonight. I mean, all things considered, to get him back the first game from the All-Star break, man, I mean, that's the best case scenario right there. I mean, nobody, I don't think, thought that when he went down and sort of hobbled off the court there. So, I mean, that's a huge win for the team. And he came out looking good, to be honest. I mean, he was hitting threes, the whole 9 yards out there. So I really like the energy, the effort, the speed that these guys are playing at. They're kind of clicking on both ends. They're letting their defense, and this is a team that we all know is going to rely on its defense, but they're letting their defense dictate their offense, not vice versa. And that's the mark of a team that's sort of bought in and is playing together. And, what they have now is confidence. And that's something that they didn't have for the first few months of the season, a couple months in. They didn't have that little swagger. I'm starting to see a little attitude out there. Guys like you said, expecting to win these games, expecting to, throw down a dunk or hit a three. Even Grant's getting into it now. Tatum, Rob, all those guys. So it's fun to watch again.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I want to spend a lot of time on Marcus because the injury. I mean, before the All-Star break, we were all holding our breath, so to speak, or at least Celtics Nation was. But Marcus had some telling things to say during his press conference. We'll get into it later about playing through pain. All right, let's just tease it right there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it later, but I mean, this team is clearly different when he's out there defensively. I mean, this team has been different overall on the defensive end, and I think what was most interesting about this one is on the national landscape on national TV. You got guys gushing over the Celtics a little bit, right? I mean, Van Gundy was all over. I mean, I felt like the identity of this Celtics team now is everyone, the secret's out, and it's not just local. And the Celtics put together another stellar win, like you said, right? It was the defense leading to the offense, easy buckets. The swagger was definitely there. But I think a lot of that has to do with these guys feeling like they belong now. Those trades where half the team, half the roster felt like was traded away. I think it made everyone sort of feel like, okay, now this is what we're going to do moving forward. This is the identity of this team. And we're seeing it continue to go after the All-Star break, and we're seeing it on national television. I think that's relevant, Jimmy. I mean, we're talking about a contending team now. Since when were the Celtics ever in that same sense, a contending team? And this isn't this isn't the local media saying this. This is TNT. I think that's relevant.
It's totally relevant. I mean, this is the same national media that replaced the Celtics game a few weeks ago for a Lakers game.
Literally, yes.
Let's not forget how
technical difficulties.
Yeah,
what do you mean, Jimmy? Technical difficulties? No, something went wrong.
That too. You're right. That happened too. I'm talking about they literally got replaced on ESPN for like Lakers game, and I was like, you know what?
That
makes
sense.
sense.
Talking about when,
when they lost the feed magically, and then
they went to a Suns game that was like a 2-point game with 2 minutes left.
Down on the wire, it was like Suns Jazz or something. Yeah, that was a funny one. But honestly, they deserved that treatment. Went the way they were playing. Like I don't blame the national media or the networks for making those moves because they were playing like trash. You could see it in their body language. You could see it just on the product. You could see it when they would kind of assume that they were going to blow leads. And I just saw the stat as the broadcast ended. They got their 10th win tonight from start to finish. Leading from start to finish, coast to coast win, leads the league. I never would have thought this team was going to lead the league in leading the game from start to finish like that. So, like you said, Marcus Smart, a bit of a pace setter or pacemaker tonight. I know that he said his pain tolerance was at the pain level was a 2 out of 10. So really not that bad. I mean, I really think they dodged a bullet there, and I'm just glad to see some inspired basketball again, because I know I've said it a few times, but the last couple season and a half, I have not felt that way about this team. This is the best I've felt about them since the bubble. And I joked about it, but it's true. I'm kind of buying it on Twitter. I'm buying in on this team. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me, because now I love you. I said it. I love you now. So you say it back. Don't hurt me.
We're gonna have to change you on the that meter, the panic meter, right?
I know I'm gonna have to
You're
flip
more
me.
green now.
You have to flip me and Bobby, I think. I don't know. We'll have to see what Bobby's take is after he gets done with the media over there in Brooklyn. But hey, man, it was a fun game. And yeah, did the Celtics have every reason to win this game? Yeah, of course. I mean, look at who the Nets are putting out there. But I still like the way they played. I'm very, very excited for the next Nets game, when our old friend Kyrie Irving should be in the TD Garden building, unless he finds another reason not to be. And they could have Ben Simmons back as well. Maybe not, but Kevin Durant could be back, or I think should be back. I think he's slated to return. So that's going to be a nice true test for them. There's a lot of winnable games coming up. So they're taking care of business, and they're building confidence in each other. It's good to see some of the younger guys getting a little burn and feeding off of each other.
Yeah, 12 out of 14 isn't bad, right, Jimmy? I mean, that's what the Celtics, that's what they're
Not
on
bad
right
at
now.
all.
I mean, look, Jason Tatum, another 30-piece. I think what was great about this is also, what was it, 7 players in double figures? I mean, pretty much everyone that got that was in that rotation, I mean, minus Pritchard, I guess, but this is the rotation that we're going to see moving forward. And I like this. Again, I think this speaks to the identity of this team, the defense leading to the offense sort of approach, where everyone is on the same page defensively, and you're seeing great results. I mean, the ball movement, man, this is exactly what you want to see every single night. But again, like you said, we want to see what they look like against a team with Kyrie Irving on it, Kevin Durant, hopefully we get that in Boston for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's been and again, like, there's still a little bit of that in me, because I do recognize that a lot of these wins have been against, bad teams, or teams that, haven't had their full roster with them or whatever. So,
right.
you got to take that into consideration, but we're not going to poo-poo it. Uh-oh. What do we got
There
here?
he is. Hey, Sherrod.
What's up,
Hey,
fella?
Sherrod Blakely
What's up,
joining
fellas?
us from Brooklyn. What's going on, Sherrod?
You guys,
give us your take out of the gate here. We got you perfectly.
Okay. Brooklyn is exactly who we thought they were. Without Kevin Durant, without Ben Simmons, without Kyrie Irving.
However,
this team is trash. This team is
they are trash.
Oh, come on, give us a however.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's not the fact that the Celtics won. It's the fact that they didn't let off the gas. Remember, this team, and I don't know if we realize this. I went back and I looked at the numbers. Did you guys realize that as much as we love Brad Stevens and his amazingly awesome coaching skills, do you realize that he's 2-6 first came out of the All-Star break? 2-6. And so when you think about his ability to win, we think about a lot of the positives, but his teams have not done particularly well coming out the gate after the All-Star break. And I think that's one of the things when you look at Ime and what he's been doing of late. This is why you don't have the kiddies in your regular rotations, and why you're not focusing on developing players, but you're trying to win games. That's why you had to get rid of some of the kiddies, so you get some grown-ass men in here who can have the maturity and focus that you need to come out the All-Star break and not just kind of ease into it. This is a different team, man, than what we saw at the beginning of the season. I mean, by no means am I saying they're going to win a championship now, but they're going to compete like a championship caliber team. And that is all Brad Stevens wants right now. He's not disillusioned to the fact that this team is going to win a championship. That's just that's look, if you believe in that, then whatever you're smoking, keep that to yourself, because it's extremely potent. But this team, the way they're built now, they can compete with anyone. That's what they want.
I'll tell you this much, though, and this is something that hasn't happened all season. Now, this is the first time. This isn't the local broadcast saying that. This is TNT. Guys gushing over the Celtics saying that they are now a contender. Now, how do you feel about that? I mean, it's a contender is one thing, but then being a championship favorite is a whole nother. But are the Celtics contenders? Are we at that point yet? I guess what I'm asking you.
See, I think it depends on what you define as a contender. I mean, when I think of a contender, I think of a team that, based upon their roster, they are built to beat anyone on any given day. And I don't think the Celtics team right now is built that way. I think they can compete with anyone and they can give anyone a run for their money. But if I'm seeing them against Golden State in the best of 7, I don't like their chances. I see them against Phoenix in the best of 7, I don't like their chances. Now in the East,
Yeah.
I think that there are some teams that are ahead of them that I think in the best of 7 they can knock them off, and it wouldn't shock me. Would not shock me if, let's say, they wound up facing Philadelphia and they beat them in 6 or 7 games.
That's a good series. That would be a good series.
Wouldn't shock me if they beat Cleveland, because Cleveland, I think, has lots of great talent, but they're so damn young and inexperienced, and they have yet to understand or experience what playoff basketball is like, because it is a different game. It's a totally different game. I don't like them against Miami. I don't like them against Milwaukee, because I think those teams, they've got the experience, they've got talent, and I just think that's just it's rough. And with Brooklyn, we don't know what the hell to think about Brooklyn, because are you going to have one of the big 3 back? Are they going to have 2 of the big 3? And if you're going to have all 3, are they going to be far enough along in their own cohesiveness to where they can play well together? This is not AAU ball. We can just throw out 5 really good players and expect to win. The NBA, it doesn't work like that
anymore. Yeah.
Come on, Sherrod. Let us have this one, man.
Let me ask you this. I know, right? I'm trying to keep it positive, right? You can tell. let me ask you this. You mentioned the kiddies, right? Now I want to ask you about one kiddie who sort of graduated a bit here, Grant Williams, right? Because he had another good game for the Celtics. And the other kiddie who's sort of still in the bubble here, trying to make a name for himself, that's Peyton Pritchard. Now Peyton Pritchard came in, did what you want to see Peyton Pritchard do, knock down some 3-pointers, right? And that's exactly what he did. But how do you feel about those two moving forward? And being sort of the back end of this rotation and holding things down, going into the playoffs or
Grant,
the season.
Grant, I swear, I mean, Grant, he's like you know that kid that wasn't really that big a deal or wasn't that tall, and then like one summer he comes back and he's growing like 6 inches, and you're like, damn, you're like kind of big. That's Grant's game. It seems like we just blinked and all of a sudden Grant went from a guy who can't make a shot to a guy who's putting it on the floor, laying it up. He's blocking shots. He's hitting 3-pointers. He's hitting 3-pointers at a rate that's better than damn near anyone on the team, and certainly among the best in the league. Grant Williams, the way he's playing, the way this team continues to win, is going to get some consideration for most improved. He will not win the award because I don't think he I don't think he plays enough. He doesn't get enough shots up and that to win it. But the growth that he has had from last year to this year is phenomenal. I mean, he's a legitimate rotation guy who can actually help you win games. And when you look at the guys on this team who are in that 24, 25 and under range, other than Tatum and Brown, and now Grant, I don't know if you got anyone else would fall into that category.
Yeah, Grant had 10 points tonight. I mean, just the way he's been running the floor, he's obviously that guy in the corner waiting to get that 3-point ball, because he's been one of the better 3-point shooters for this team all season, and he hasn't really slowed down. I mean, he had that slow point like right before the Celtics went on this run, but throughout this run, I think he's been solid for the Celtics. Second unit.
Yeah, and just so you know, Bobby has not taken that hat off all night.
There he is.
Just so you know.
There he is, Bobby Big Hat. It's Bobby.
It's cold in here.
Bobby Manning joining us now in the Barclays Center.
I wasn't planning on going with a hat tonight. Yeah, we're in the stands here.
You
Everyone's
weren't planning on it, but you kept it
autograph.
on all night.
It's freezing in here.
It's a little chilly in there. Yeah, that arena
gets a little chilly. Meat on them bones,
He's
Bobby.
freezing. He's freezing.
Yeah.
Come on.
I gotta.
That's a good point.
Damn, Bobby. It ain't that cold, Bobby. Trust me, it ain't that cold.
I got nothing to say to that.
Rod, he's in Brooklyn. If you're not walking around indoors with a winter hat on, then you're not in Brooklyn, bro. Sorry. Like that's required.
Bobby's over here, Dennis Schroeder in it right now with the hat, but that's all good. I like it.
They leave the doors open too long. How about Smart with a tribute to Schroeder, rolling the ball past half court and then pulling up from 3 and nailing it like from nearly half court there. That was my favorite play of the night. There was a lot of good ones.
What do you think of the win overall? What do you think of the win overall? Yeah, because Sherrod really misses Kyrie and Harden.
Sherrod brought us back down to earth.
I guess
Yeah.
the new look Nets. You wanted
I
to see
have
the new
to.
look Nets tonight. You wanted to see the new look Nets.
Here's the thing. So they're playing a few good teams. They're playing mostly bad teams on this stretch here, but it's over a quarter season now that they have just been this suffocating defense that as more and more people start to assess it, there's no real answer to go at this defense. I mean, the Nets tried punching up a bunch of threes. It didn't really work. Most of them were pretty well contested. You can't go into the paint. There's no escaping, I guess, unless the Celtics got in like really bad foul trouble or a team just shot unimaginably from three. There's no real answer to go at this defense. So I'm reaching the point with this scheme that they have, and especially when they're at full health. We'll see what happens if a guy or two goes down. They obviously didn't look great against Detroit last week. But when this group's fully intact and they're running these defensive rotations, I don't know who's going to beat them in the East. Like, who's going to solve this? Who has the shooting? Who has the inside presence? And even if you do have the inside presence, you're going against these two bigs and these guys that can really defend the paint, Robin Horford, and all this length. This is a team that could really win the East. Like, it's been too long at this point.
So, Bobby,
Yeah.
you have officially drank, swallowed, consumed, gurgled,
I'm all
whatever
in.
you want to
I'm
call
all
it,
in
all
on
the
this
Kool-Aid.
Gargled.
Yeah, I mean, everything's just cooking. They're killing teams.
You get that green drink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, what can you
they're-
nitpick right now?
And Bobby, you said I was going
there's-
a little too green for you a couple weeks ago.
I'm
or a
with
week
you,
ago.
Josue. You were right.
Listen,
I don't know, man. I think your shade's
kind of.
your shade's a little too green for me. I don't know. We'll talk about it though. What's up, Jimmy?
I'll be honest. I'm starting to turn the corner too. I'm not at Bobby Manning peak level of fandom right now, but I will say that I am a much more believer in this team than I was like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, and they are continuing to trend in the right direction. Now, again, I know we want to see them beat more legitimate teams, I think, or teams that have their full roster on them. So
They've
I
beaten
am kind of
Denver. They've beaten Philly by 50.
Yeah, they beat Philly by 50 without their full roster, though. So again, like I want to see a team's full roster. I'm not knocking the wins. I want to see them beat other better teams. That being said, I'm happy with the way they are winning based on the teams they're playing. So
Well,
there's
they're doing
still
what they're
positives
supposed to
take
do.
from it. Yeah, right.
I mean, and to me, and that's the thing that remember
And they weren't
early
doing
on
that
this season,
before.
they weren't doing that before. No, they were basically they were either losing to
playing
bad
down.
teams or letting teams that they should just absolutely should be beating the snot out of, beat them or
Right.
at least take them to the brink of defeat. And now it's just like they're looking over at Brooklyn and they're just like, no Kyrie, no Kevin Durant, no Ben Simmons. This is no contest. We're about to whip their ass. And and Marcus Smart, took 6 shots and he made
Right.
5 of them. And damn near every shot he took was like a nice in rhythm shot. And that's really the thing about this team and again, their defense has been good all year. But what they're doing now is they have put teams in a position where you can't even run pick and roll and get a matchup that's going to be in your favor. Like literally when your point guards are running pick and roll and they get switched out and they got to deal with Rob Williams, that's not as big a mismatch as you would want it to be when your point guard is matched up against the center. When you run the same thing and you get Al Horford, again, not nearly as big a mismatch as you would want it to be when one of your supposedly fast, speedy players has a big on him. And because of that, you're able to win and compete and fight and get a lot of missed shots. And even when your bigs get switched out on like a Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, they're right now they're so locked in to knowing where their help is coming from that they're never really beat even when they're outmatched. There were multiple possessions where guys on Brooklyn had the ball, realized they had a mismatch, made a move, and by the time they got to the spot, they were the spot before the spot where they could shoot. There was somebody there, and so then they had the reason.
They pick up
I mean,
for you
another
guys
level right
so
now.
well. Yeah,
their help defense has been amazing.
If a guy gets caught and all of a sudden a guy's open, someone rotates right over. It's seamless at this point. And I was talking to Smart about it at shoot around today, just the second level and third level help that you talk about there, Sherrod. The guys showing up on the second and third sides. That's what Smart talked about, is making this group so special. There's always someone in position to take over. And you think of like, how much did we complain about that switching early in the year? And it's like, oh, are they switching too much? Is our guys going to get this? And now it's just like in their sleep, they're in the right positions. Even Rob, who I didn't think was that great today, had a big impact.
But the problem with their switching earlier this year was they were literally switching everything and switching before they even needed to switch. And you're watching this and you're just like, dude, fight over that weak ass screen and stay with your man. You don't got to switch every damn thing.
Yeah.
And they figured out, like, really the last month, we don't need to switch everything. But when we do switch, we know who needs to switch, and we know where the help for that switch is going to, for the person who's switching, is going to come from. I mean, it's like, it's crazy how in sync they have become defensively, to the point. And again, you don't have any mismatches when teams run pick and roll. And
I've
I can't recall the last time I've seen a team that locked in defensively, that had guys that had that ability to pretty much hold their own against any and every matchup that they have. I mean, the Philadelphia game to me was the greatest example we've seen this year of them just simply knowing their personnel. And the crazy part about that is the guy who I think is the best switcher on the team, Rob, didn't even play.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
think of the great defenses Jimmy Josue. Like the one that comes to mind is 08. And I don't remember that year like game in and game out, but this has got to be approaching that point. What this group's doing, I mean, they are miles ahead of the number 2 defense in the league since
Sherrod, stop
Christmas.
him.
That's 2 whole months.
Sherrod,
I
stop
mean,
it.
there's just.
Don't let him.
But
Don't let him.
have they put no one for
it's a
2
different.
months?
It was a different era, but
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
We can't
Bobby,
keep talking
you
about
don't
they
have to
haven't played anybody and they have it's been lighter and they've had it's been 2 months. We're talking about like half the year at this point that they've been the number 1 defense, miles and miles ahead of anyone else. And as Ime predicted, and when he said this, I wasn't sure about it. He said, I think when we start to pile up stops and we get out and run and stuff, we'll be a top 5 offense or a top 10 offense too. And they've been that on this streak. It was statistically, I don't know if they're actually a top 10 offense, but what it says is if you keep doing this on defense, you can play like a top 10 offense. And that's essentially what they've done. And that's a championship team.
That's
Top 10
I mean,
defense, top 10 offense.
That's the identity of this team. If you put it blankly, I mean, that's exactly what it is, and that's what we're seeing. But I mean, to your point earlier, Bobby, about this team winning the East, like, is that enough against the powerhouse teams? The Philadelphia 76ers. Like, I like the way they match up against Philly, but we still haven't seen what they look like with the James Harden in the mix. Which let's
Yes.
face it. By the way, it's going to be a long series because if these two teams meet, we're talking about 40, 45, 50 free throw attempts between Embiid and Harden. Like, it's going to be ridiculous. Yeah. Like, how is that team like defensively? How does that? How do the Celtics counteract that? It's going to be tough.
Well,
I mean, that's just one example.
But you know what? I'm not as worried about that as I think a lot of people are, and here's why. Those guys are so good that they're going to draw attention. The way that those guys have been able to be effective is that they're able to find that balance between drawing attention, getting the ball out to guys who can make shots versus getting the ball back and doing their own thing. Philadelphia ain't got no shot makers now. I mean, freaking Matisse Thybulle is like one of their top options. And I love Matisse Thybulle, but he can't shoot. I would take Jimmy's jump shot. I take Jimmy's jump shot over Matisse's jump shot. And that's saying something. That is saying something.
I hold my own out there.
I want to see what Harden has like. It was interesting.
That's enough slander for one show.
That's Jimmy's favorite comment of the year. He loves it.
A very skinny looking Harden appeared at Philly practice day, which is just unreal. I don't know how he transforms his body on a dime.
Oh, that's motivated Harden. That's motivated Harden.
The break, shed it off, whatever he did.
Long hours in the sauna will do you guys wonders.
Hey, listen, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Like, I think the Celtics match up well against a team like that. But it's all about the path through the playoffs, right? If this team is going to make that deep playoff run, my worry, honestly, is home court. I mean, that's honest. That's realistic for this team right now. But we got to wait and see. I mean, I think that would be huge for the Celtics.
I'll tell you what home court's not going to bother.
Let me say something.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
We're going back and forth on whether or not the Celtics are better or not than this team. The real thing we should be talking about is the fact that they're competitive with these teams now. They weren't even competitive with these teams a month ago. So that's the real
There's no
win.
one you're afraid of, is there?
Not right now. Not really, no.
I do.
Two months ago, I didn't even know if they're going to make the damn playoffs. So that's the difference with this team. Like, and they are still trending in that direction. Yeah, we understand they haven't played the best competition, but they're beating the teams they have to beat the way they have to beat them. They can only play the schedule. What's Bill Belichick always say? Listen, we don't make the schedule. We just play the schedule. Control what you can control. You can't be looking at the schedule and saying, oh, this win doesn't matter, or this win matters less than the other win. Play the games as they come, and eventually you're going to play a good team, and then, we'll find out who's real, who's fake, all that good stuff. So until then, you just got to, keep bettering yourself. If you're the Celtics, do what you got to do to make yourselves better, and then you'll be ready for the Bulls, the Heat, the Nets when they're healthy. And then we have a series, and we'll see what happens. Roll the ball out there. You can't tell me the way Tatum, Brown, and now Rob are playing, if they're on their game at the same time with the way the team plays defensively, that these guys can't go 7 with anybody.
So I was just in the
They have
pressure
to
with
play their
Ime.
best, though. They're not gonna win on out-talenting the team. They have to play harder than the other team. That's the
See,
difference.
you know what? See, Jimmy, this is the thing, Jimmy. I don't think they have to play their best to beat some of these better teams, and here's why: their defense isn't going anywhere. That defense is going to be rock solid, and they could have a crappy night shooting the ball. Like, I would not be surprised if they have a playoff game or two where they win and shoot less than 30% from the field. I think their
Less than
defense is
30?
that good. Less than 30. Their defense
They win
is
that
that
game, bro.
good.
No, it's not.
Jimmy,
I don't know about
their defense
that.
is that good. Their defense is that
You know what's
good.
gonna happen,
You mean
Jimmy?
three,
You know
Sherrod?
what's gonna happen? You know what's gonna happen, Jimmy? They're gonna shoot 33, and Sherrod's gonna be like, "See," we're gonna be like, "Nah, that's not what you said, man."
Yeah, you said
You
I
said
want to see
under 30.
29.5 on that damn
29.4.
That would have to be
I'm
historic.
calling 34%.
Don't forget that's
34%
going to
gonna
be
happen.
against a playoff team, man. That's not going to be against the freaking Magic. So,
But your point is valid. Your point is valid.
I get your point.
They're
I get your
good.
point.
They're that good. They're that good defensively.
They have.
So that's what
They have been getting away with wins like that when they haven't shot well. They already have been. The difference is going to be you're now playing playoff teams in a 7-game series. So while I don't expect those guys to be on their game night in, night out, they're going to need to bring in. Someone's going to need to score on that offensive end, and we know that they aren't the deepest team in the league, not even close. So somebody's going to have to take over at some point.
Yeah,
But
that's
Bob,
the
what
difference
did,
now, Jimmy, is they're committed to defense now, and a commitment that was not there earlier this season. And because of that commitment, even when they shooting like crap, I still think they've got a shot to win because again, they understand finally you don't win at a high level unless you defend the hell out of the ball. Unless you have 3 of the top 5, top 6 scorers in a game, you're going to need to defend at a high level night in, night out. And that's what they're doing. Even when they don't play great, they're going to find a way to compete and win. And I think they're going to have a game where they win a playoff game shooting 30% or less.
I'll let Bobby and Joseph. I know they have my time. I just want to say one last thing. Sherrod, good offense always beats good defense. So that's all I'm saying. Like
that's not true.
That is always true in the NBA. Yes,
that is not true, Jimmy.
Good offense beats good defense.
Do you know why? Do you know why?
I knew that wouldn't be the last thing said. Go ahead.
Jimmy, the teams that have won championships have been top 10, top 15 defenses.
And where they better
Golden State, as much as their defense led them to be better.
Best. Yeah, they're not number one.
Their defense was ridiculous.
Yeah,
their defense was ridiculous.
Bobby, what did Ime say?
Come on.
We'll get back to this. Hold on.
Ime talked about that. The fact that
you talking about the Warriors defense?
No, he didn't talk about them being at their best every night, which is kind of what Jimmy was talking about right there. But he talked about the fact that he knows what they're going to get out of them every single night now. And that's the defense, the pace that we're starting to see this team play with now, and the ball movement, which was just ridiculous tonight, the way the ball was flying around different times. So I like the parallels of what he was saying early in the year, calling them out, challenging their mental focus. He essentially said that this is a really mentally focused team tonight to come out of break and do this and be this reliable. I mean, he barely has to worry about what he's going to get from them now. And so to what Sherrod said, when you have a defense that is this reliable, and it's not like shooting where you're going to have good nights or bad nights, it's just the effort and the connectivity on that end that you have to lock in on. Like, that's such a solid groundwork for a team. Like, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't matter who you're going to play.
Right. And it's a team defense. Yeah. It's not like you've got a Marcus Smart, a Tony Allen, a James Posey, and you got 6 and 7 of those type of guys. You've got solid defenders with good length, move the feet laterally
Grant.
well.
Team defense is
Derek White.
It is. It absolutely is. I mean, Grant Williams is not going to get any Defensive Player of the Year votes. Yet he has been a very solid defender out there.
one of the most stunning things of the year, Rob was out for that Philly game. Grant stepped in, and they still held Philly to
They
the
beat.
lowest field goal percentage of any team this year.
And remember,
Yeah.
Embiid did not make a field goal until like halfway through the second quarter. He made a
Yeah.
bunch of free throws, but you can live with that because when you make free throws, you got to earn those points. You literally have to earn those points. Embiid
I
didn't
think
make a shot until about 6 minutes in the second.
people around the league have to wake up to what's going on here. And I've heard national people talk about it. I mean, this is really, really special what they're doing on that end of the floor over an extended time now. And that's what makes me think, why not? Why can't they win the East? Like, what are you
Well,
nitpicking at this point? What's not
this is
there?
this is what it is, Bobby. It is, in my opinion.
What's not
Yes,
there?
if you have a top defense, that goes a long way. It does. It creates a foundation. But in the best of 7 series, you're going to get the team with the better players, better overall players are going to get the call, the benefit of the doubt, and probably going to win the series. Now, you look at the Celtics offensively, though. They have 2 premier scorers in Tatum and Brown. I mean, 2 guys that at any given night can drop 40, 50 points. I mean, when you have that foundation on defense and 2 guys like that are capable of going off, especially on the big stage, and someone like Tatum who just did it last season against the Nets. I mean, it puts the Celtics in a really good spot to go deep into the playoffs. Now, to Sherrod's point, the reason why I'm not going to go on a limb and say this team can win a championship is because whoever's waiting for them on the other side of this scenario, and them going into the NBA Finals, I don't like that matchup for them. But I'm not going to say this team. If that happens, then it's a failure. This team would overachieve by a mile if that were to happen. No question.
Well, the thing about this group, Josue, is this: as I think we all agree that they can compete with any and every team in the Eastern Conference. There's no team that they should look at and say, "Ooh, I don't know if we can beat them." But having said that, and we all know this to be true, there are certain levels that teams take their game to when the playoffs arrive. There are teams in the Eastern
That's
Conference
another
right now
thing.
that are ahead of them
Yeah.
that I'm concerned if you're the Boston Celtics,
Miami.
I would be concerned that they're going to take their game to another level because the Celtics defensively have been amazing. I don't know how much better they're going to get than what we've seen now because this is about as good as we've ever seen teams defend. I mean, I covered the Detroit Pistons back in 2004, and this defense that the Celtics are playing right now is on par with that defense, and that defense was insanely sick. This defense is just as good. I don't know how much better they're going to get, but when I look at the Miami Heat, when I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, when I look at possibly the Sixers, I do see the potential for them to get significantly better on the offensive end of the floor. And if that were the case, how is this Celtics defense going to basically counter attack that? Those are my big concerns when I look at them as a possible team that could go deep into the playoffs. How are they going to handle the adjustments that those other teams ahead of them are going to make? Because again, they're playing out of this world basketball right now, and Ime, Marcus Smart, Tatum, they all deserve a big fat piece of the blame pie for this team's growth.
Mhm.
But when you get to the playoffs, and teams are going to, as Josue pointed out, they're gonna get calls that they normally don't get. You're going to get guys who are going to play better than they normally do. And can the Celtics hold their own when these other teams step their game up? I don't know.
How do
But
you
I
feel
do know
about
that
the way Brown and the X Factor is going to be Brown and Tatum, obviously? How do you feel about the way they're playing right now, Jimmy?
How they're playing? I think they're playing great. I really do. I mean, I think Tatum's really stepped up. I want to talk about it later on in the show. I want to go into Tatum's podcast segment that he had with JJ Redick, and he talked a
JJ
lot about
Redick.
those. Yeah, I want to get into that a little bit later. We'll finish up this type of convo first, but
Yeah, in a
I,
minute, Jimmy. In a
I
minute.
think
All right.
I think yeah I think Tatum's getting a little. I know that like tonight, for example, he shot right around 50% from the field. I know he's a little cold to start, but he's looking a little bit more confident out there with that outside shot. There it is, 10 for 20 and nailed it. 4 for 9 from 3. Brown, a little bit more inconsistent. I think we can all agree. The ball handling has regressed a bit. But there are points in the game where Jaylen Brown decides he wants to take over, and he does. We've seen it. I mean, it was only like a week or two ago where he was automatic he was in every three-pointer he took. He was all over the place. And we know what these two guys are capable of. Again, it's just kind of tapping into it a little bit more consistently. And I think that comes with experience more than anything else.
I think we're
Yeah.
getting that, Jimmy. I really do. I mean, I think for like every 9 or 10 games, they'll have maybe 1 or 2 bad ones, and to me, that's consistent. If you can have that type of ratio, like
Yeah.
3 to 1, for every like bad game, you've got 3 or 4 good ones. That's a good ratio to have, because we know when those guys
Yeah.
play
Sure.
well, they have a significantly great chance at being successful. So I think that they're at that point where they're not going to play great every night, but they're going to play pretty damn good most nights. And when they don't, you're going to lose. And that's the way it should be. When Joel Embiid plays like crap, they should lose. If Steph Curry plays like crap, guess what? They're going to get their ass beat most of the time. That's how it's supposed to be. I like what I'm seeing out of the Jays now. I really do. I like. I mean, tonight I didn't think Jalen had a great game, but he still wound up with like 6 assists. Which
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was making quick decisions.
we all know that there
He
are
led,
times where
right? Him and Marcus.
he can go weeks and not get 6 assists, let alone get 6 in one game. So
And it's not because he had the
We've
ball a
seen
ton
it.
either.
That's true. Yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah. He
All
was.
right,
I
He
want
was
to pull up those receipts. We got those receipts. We don't need to pull them up.
just one more thing on Jalen Josue. He was
Yeah,
making
what's
the
up?
quick decisions, and I criticized him for that like a week or two ago. I wasn't sure if he was
You
going to
criticize him for making quick decisions?
No, for not making quick decisions
Oh, I
and
was
turning the
gonna
ball
say,
over and just
okay.
being a little too sloppy. Over the
You
last couple
apologize to
games
him,
here,
Bobby, you should talk to him about this.
well, I mean, it wasn't a resounding criticism.
Just
It wasn't an indictment on him like people.
In other
thought
words,
it
no,
was,
I'm
but
not apologizing. That's what Bobby said. He ain't apologizing.
Yeah, he ain't getting
He's
anywhere
moving
near
in
that camera.
He's moving
You
in
know,
the right
Jalen
direction
would
in this
just
part
ask
of
you to
his
repeat
game.
the question a couple of times and then be like, well, but yeah, go ahead.
I love that about Jalen. I actually like that about him. But
That happened
anyway,
to me in
that's not-
Philly, but
Hey,
another
you don't want to
conversation.
go on the record. You got to make sure you understand the question completely. Hey, I'm not mad at it. I'm not.
yeah.
All right. No, this is what I talked. I teased this a bit at the beginning of the show because Marcus talked about he was asked about this. His
Josue,
the level. What's up?
Before you go into it, I wanna pay a bill here. I want to pay some bills. So before we get into this next, because it sounds like what you're gonna say is gonna be important. So before we get to it, I want to talk to you guys about our sponsor for tonight's show.
Oh,
It is
okay. I was like, what
Coda.
are you
Yeah, I
talking
gotta
about
pay
right
the bills, Joseph. I'll get
now? I
yelled
was
at
like,
if
what's
you don't.
What's Marcus doing? Oh,
You
gotcha.
want that paycheck to come or what? So, anyways,
I
this
thought you were
show
trying to do a segue with Marcus. I didn't know where you were going with it.
No, I wanna give you a runway to trust me. I gotta get this one in, and I just want
Go, Jimmy. Just go, Jimmy. Go.
Yeah, go
Go,
ahead.
Jimmy.
Coda.
Go.
All right, let me get it out there. It's Coda. So basically, what this is, and I know a lot of people now are working from home more, or they're working, just not in the office like they used to be. So if you are doing those things but you're working with a team, or you're working in a company that you have to bounce ideas and bounce things off people that you work with, then this company Coda might be the answer for you guys. So it allows you to work anywhere. If you need your laptop, you just need some Wi-Fi. And what you do is basically you spread across. It's basically you spread documents together on this app. Call it an app that basically combines all your apps together. It's a stack of workflow tools you have jumping in and out of all day, and it's essentially documents that bring it all together for you. It's endlessly customizable and connected. There are templates for anything and everything: product roadmaps, remote onboarding, OKR tracker, meeting notes, you name it, Coda has it. It adapts to growing teams and changing strategies, and it can help change the way you view information depending on what you need to do with it. And most importantly, it integrates with all the tools you need. It syncs up so that you don't have to download all these different programs and apps, and you can kind of work with your team. I don't know, I guess you could say like seamlessly in one group. So the call to action is this: with Coda, you can solve for just about anything, and right now you can get started having your team all working together on the same page for free. So if you head over to Coda.
Head over, kid.
Head over to Coda.
Head over there.
That accent just comes through sometimes.
Head over to
Damn.
Coda. Let me get Coda.io/garden. That's CODA.io to get started for free. And if I didn't make it clear, it's basically a downloadable program that you and your team can sort of work together on it and make business more seamless. Small business, big business, doesn't matter. They've got over 25,000 companies using it right now. And you could be 25,001. So all that being said, Josue,
Right.
you
Check
can
'em
have
out.
this
Check
page
'em out.
again.
Well done, Jimmy. No, check them out, guys.
I think the Celtics
no.
might be using Coda
Yeah.
the way
They're
they
getting organized.
They
they're all organized
consolidated.
out there. There's a
They
Yeah, we're
chance.
going
for sure.
places.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? A big part of that is Marcus Smart. Now, Marcus Smart, before this game, he was asked about the injury, of course. It was sort of on everyone's mind heading into the All-Star break. And he was asked about his pain meter, so to speak, right? Between a 1 through 10, and he called it a 2. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is, though, Bobby, I believe you tweeted about it. Other people did. They said that he looked kind of, like he was limping a bit after shoot around or before shoot around rather. Is there any way that maybe he's being a little, I don't know, not that he's lying, but maybe this thing is he playing through something more significant, or should we take his word for it at this point? Because there's still a whole lot of basketball left in the rest of the season, of course, beyond if this team is to go deep. And Marcus is a big part of that, in my opinion.
It was interesting in Philly because it looked bad, remember? We were like, oh, that looks really bad. And post-game, they were like, it will be fine. So, I think it is a pain tolerance thing, as he said. He said he had a bruise. I didn't like the way he was moving. Maybe it is playing it up a little bit. I don't know. But I was concerned when I saw him at shoot-around because he was kind of limping into the room. He had the huge pack of ice on it, but he's like, I'm good to go. It's a 2. I swam in the pool over break, and I was good to go. And honestly, he looked great out there moving-wise. He was in the pregame warm-up, shooting around, changing directions and stuff. There was only one moment there in the game where it looked like it started bothering him a little bit just before halftime when he did a take foul at half court. So overall, it was nice to see him come out there and be an organizer again, running pick and roll like nothing to Rob. And hitting a bunch of threes, that's obviously not something you're always going to expect from him, but when he does it, it's a plus. Otherwise, the things you do expect out of him, he gave you here tonight. And honestly, looking back at that Detroit game that he missed and how bad they were offensively for stretches of that one, he's starting to look like an X factor for this group, just in terms of what he gives them at that lead guard spot, because he is fully embraced just making stuff happen, making the quick decisions at the top, initiating actions, and being the point guard. And that was really the turning point of this season when he decided, I'm going to go all in on this after he came back from that injury. The Washington game, Josue, we remember exactly where we were when he came back and had that huge game, just moving the ball around. And that's who he's become as a player. It's like, how many years has he been in the league now? Since 2014, 15 now. So it's like almost year 10. He has an epiphany. This is who he is as a player. And this is the stuff you're going to expect game in and game out from him. Like, you never used to know what you were going to get out of Smart. And now he's another guy on this team that you're like, all right, he's just going to move the ball and be patient and be conservative even with his shot taking. 6 shots in a game, that used to be very surprising when we did that. Not anymore.
Well, a lot of it, I think, is just guys are finally putting their words to action. Like, they talk about trusting each other, but they didn't play like it. They didn't play like they had each other's back. They didn't play like, if I give you the ball, I may not get it back this possession, but I'm going to get it back because you're going to trust me to make that shot. It's Marcus. It goes back to what Marcus was talking about before about Tatum and Brown in the passport, the team playing better defense, and all those things. And to me, the biggest difference is that everyone seems to be buying into what Ime and Marcus and all their leaders have been talking about. And that wasn't the case earlier on. It was just like guys were like, "Well, that sounds good, but let me try this out instead." Or, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this every now and then, but at some point, I'm going to kind of do my thing."
It was like they couldn't contain themselves, Sherrod. That's what it was. They would go out there just like in the moment, like, I'm going to do this thing instead.
Yeah.
Like, you think it was intentional, Sherrod?
I think it was subconscious. I think it was that they were. I don't think it was something that they were playing. It was like premeditated or anything like that. I think it just happened. They would have great ball movement for 2 or 3 possessions, and then at some point Jaylen Brown will look and see that he's got some 6'4" guard who isn't very quick guarding him, and rather than attack him, he's like, I'm just going to shoot right over the top of him. Or Tatum would have a switch out on a slow big, and rather than swing the ball 2 or 3 times to get it back for an open 3 or open drive to the lane, he'd just try to attack and get some contact, and then immediately the hands go up. Where's the call? And so, but now there's just greater trust with them. I mean, they actually talk about trust and they play like they trust each other.
And early in the game, he did have a charge call where he was sitting there and kind of complaining a little bit and had his arms up, and then he just gets right past it. It doesn't linger with him anymore. Missed shots always bled into his defense and the other parts of his game, and he made stress to him early in the season. Do the other stuff, rebound, defend, pass a ton. And now Tatum, we talk about the habits that Ime's changed, whether it's Smart, Brown a little bit, as well as Tatum. Tatum drives almost every time now. He's always swinging the ball out to the perimeter. He's repositioning himself to get the ball back again. And honestly, at this point, I trust him as a lead creator as I do Smart. He is doing so much stuff from that position so consistently. A couple of turnovers early in this one. He comes out, plays a clean second quarter. And the rest of the night, it's almost like he's effortless, just swinging the ball to everybody. It's amazing the growth that Ime's gotten out of this group in a short amount of time. There's a lot of Coach of the Year candidates. He's got to be up with just about everybody. I'd say like Jason Kidd, Monty Williams, Spoelstra's always going to be there. But he's right up there, I'd say, in the top 5-6 with just about anybody, just based off what he's gotten out of these guys and the way that he's kind of transformed their games.
Is this the best we've ever seen Marcus Smart play? Jimmy, what do you think?
Honestly, in this role,
I think
yes.
it might be.
In this role, definitely. I think there were points where, let's be honest, Marcus Smart became a fan favorite for a reason. So it's not like he just started playing solid basketball. I mean, the energy and the effort points have always been there. And, some of his flashy passing is obvious, top of the league on the defensive side of things. Not so much last year, but previous seasons. So I think this is definitely one of the best stretches we've seen of Marcus Smart. Is probably how I would put it. And it's just the way he's doing a little bit. He's given the game what it needs, which is kind of what we've been saying. That's the mark of a great point guard is not just doing whatever it is you do well, only that. It's doing what the game needs and providing, your teammates, putting them in a position to succeed out there. And I think he's getting a lot more comfortable with that role than he has been in past seasons. So in that sense, I would say, yeah, it is the best we've seen him play.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Marcus, I think about what I like to call the 5 tools of talent, and that's guys who can score, rebound, defend, pass, and make their teammates better. And I think in those 5 areas, Marcus is playing the best that we've seen him ever. Thanks, Jimmy, for the tabulation. I appreciate
Put it in Coda.
You said it quickly.
Yeah, they're his rules, man.
Yeah,
I think he knows there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
But we've seen him play better. I think we've seen in different facets of the game him play better than he has now. Like, for example, he's been really good defensively, but we've seen him play better defense than what we've seen of late. And that's no knock against what he's doing now. It's just that he has played at a ridiculously high level before for stretches of time. I think back to that stretch where James Harden was in Houston, where he drew those back-to-back offensive
that's
fouls.
exactly what I was thinking.
I mean, that stuff just doesn't happen every day.
That was wild,
yeah. But to Marcus's credit, though, I mean, he has put the full package together and has given them exactly what they need. The challenge for him going forward is making sure that he stays healthy enough to be out there. Because he's had a couple of kind of nick bumps and bruises, and the last thing they need is for him to be out for even a couple.
So that's what worries me about this team. We're seeing them play pretty thin night in and night out. Mm-hmm. They handled that one injury against Philly. The depth at center, Tice looked good there. But then you get a second injury to Smart. You go into that Detroit game, and all of a sudden it was like, I don't know if they have the depth to sustain multiple injuries to this group. And, you say that about everybody, right? Like, if any team gets hurt, they're going to drop below where they are. But I think the Celtics especially have to be completely intact to reach their full fruition, because you just don't have guys off the bench that can step right in, save for maybe Grant. And I don't even know if White can do it yet. We haven't seen it in the one game that he had to step in there for Smart. So this group's got to stay intact. And that's the other factor we talk about here when we discuss whether this group can make a run. You got to catch breaks. So our other team's going to be fully intact here. You're going to be fully intact. I think it would be the first time ever for the Celtics to not have a big injury during the playoffs. That's the kind of stuff that's going to make or break if they're right there with everyone else, whether or not they make the finals. Is Miami going to be together? Is Milwaukee going to have their wings? I know they've been really beat up. Philly, Embiid, Harden, those are 2 guys you always look at, and it's like, are they going to be able to sustain a big run here? Boston, too. You think of Rob, you think of Smart. Those are 2 guys that can always run into a little something. And luckily, the Jays are usually pretty healthy. And, Horford has stayed remarkably intact throughout this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, Bobby, I don't worry about health because
well, the Celtics, all they do is say we're healthy. We're healthy now. Oh, we weren't healthy before. It's but number one thing they say.
Right. But you can't be just bracing for the moment where somebody goes down, because like you said, any team that loses one of their best players or one of their starting players, likely that's going to put them really behind in the chance to really contend for a title. There's only a few teams out there with the depth that can withstand a major injury. And the Celtics certainly are not one of them. And if it happens, that sucks. But you can't just be good in the NBA. You're right. You have to be lucky as well. You have to catch breaks. You have to play opponents at the right time. And right now, the Celtics are doing both of those things. They're healthy. They're playing opponents at the right time. And right now, they're kind of coming into a bit of a groove here. And if they can ride that momentum into the playoffs, fine by me if they play every shitty team in the league going into the playoffs. If that means that that's going to build their
You'd love
confidence.
to be the asterisk
Stack
champion.
those wins.
Why not?
No,
Stack
no,
those
not
wins.
in
Stack
the
those
playoffs,
wins.
but leading up to the playoffs. I'm saying, exactly.
Yeah.
Stack those wins. Get yourself a good seed. Maybe put yourself in a home court advantage like Josue wants, and you're in a position to go a few rounds. Like
Be
these
the
guys were
asterisk champion.
these guys were a first round exit in my eyes. A month ago,
Playing
2 months
maybe.
maybe.
That was weeks ago.
Right,
Jimmy.
playing maybe. I know. I'm saying best case scenario, they were a first round exit. I mean, we were looking at the 8 through 10 seeds, wondering if they were going to have to have a home court in the play-in game. So things are definitely different now than they were. And I'll be honest, I think they're kind of growing up before our eyes a little bit here. I kind of want to transition into the Tatum podcast because I think that was the first real look we got at Tatum. Real good interview we got it. Like sort of aside from the cookie cutter
What
interviews
interview, huh?
that we're stuck with right now because
Yeah,
of COVID.
I felt like he really, just let everything out. Yeah, that's true.
And I talked about this yesterday on Discord. Shout out Discord. Everybody who was on the Discord last night, we did a 2-hour Discord audio chat. I held it down for 2 hours. It was like late night radio. I think Amit's going to put the graphic up. There it is. So it's clnsmedia.com/Discord. We've got about 650-ish people in the Discord already. We just started this thing like 2 weeks ago. And one of the weeks included All-Star break where we didn't really, we didn't have any games to even chat about in there. So this Discord's growing rapidly. It's a ton of fun. Like I said, last night I did 2 hours in there. Good amount of people jumped in. They were able to jump on the quote unquote stage and talk about whatever was on their minds, Celtics, NBA. We went around the league. And one of the things we talked about for a good amount of time was this Tatum interview. From start to finish. I mean, he started off with talking about his Duke days and how, Coach K was, pretty tough on them. And, probably one of the toughest coaches you could probably imagine having. And then he goes from Coach K to Brad and didn't really talk a whole lot about that. But I was wondering in my mind, just thinking, wow, that must have been a huge difference for him, the coaching styles, because Brad doesn't seem like the type of authoritarian coach that Coach K is, and certainly in college basketball,
he's not gonna lock you out of practice. No, he won't.
Exactly, you can get away with that in college hoops. You can't really get away with that in the NBA. And then he moved to the Celtics, and that's where he kind of got into the good stuff, talking about how he took the first few years of his career for granted, much like a lot of younger players do, just the winning and being able to, get to the playoffs and get to the Eastern Conference Finals and not really understand how difficult it is to get there. And I think over the last couple seasons, that's kind of been eye-opening for him. And I just think that he said a number of other things in that interview that made me think, you know what, like this kid, he's 23. He's kind of growing up in front of our eyes. He's still a young kid, but he's maturing. I can hear it. I can see that he's not the 19-year-old that entered this league that, was wide-eyed and, sort of just taking it all in. I think he kind of understands that he has a pretty serious role now with the success of this team, which leads me to the whole section that they talked about how him and Brown talked to each other about wanting to be in Boston. I was just wondering what you guys thought about, that and just a couple of the other things that he mentioned.
Well, the weird thing about that whole Jalen Jason dynamic is that when you look at what they say, you look at how they engage each other. You look at from the very beginning of how hell, we were trying to come up with nicknames for them as a tandem, and they were trying to come up with nicknames for themselves as a tandem. There was nothing that indicated that there was this desire to part ways. Like when you think about the pairings in the NBA, when you think about CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard, they didn't have issues, but you didn't really feel as though they were like kind of tied at the hip. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid damn sure weren't tied at the hip.
Certainly not. They actually
you
weren't
start
tight
looking
at all.
You start looking around the league, and you don't see too many guys that talented, that young, that are that cool with each other. the way Jalen and Jason are. And so it's not surprising that he talks about that. But I mean, if we're being honest and keeping it real, people don't want to hear that, even if that's the truth. Because
I didn't
people
believe it.
don't want. You didn't
I
believe
didn't
that
believe.
they were cool.
No, I thought that they were
That they,
cool, but I never. I wanted to hear them say that they want to be in Boston, that they want to play for the Celtics, that they want to play with each other. There was a lot of examples that I thought over the last couple of seasons that made me feel like, you know what? I don't know if these guys really are buying into being here.
but Jimmy,
That interview changed my mind a little bit.
here's the problem though, Jimmy. This is what I think we need to have a conversation about. They can't control that. They can't. They literally can't control that. They can go out there and
Yeah,
average
but
40. They can
Their
average
body
40.
language, their body language,
yeah,
the
Sherrod,
way that
we've
they
seen
play.
They
like,
can.
we've seen
Their
they
body
have
language and their.
we've seen young tandems in the past have way more fun. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
That's not who he is, though. That's not his personality.
It's not just
And
about having fun. It's just about the way that they were kind of conducting themselves, not only on the court, but like you don't really I never just got that vibe. And I'm not saying it's fact, but that was the vibe I got. Now, when I heard the Tatum interview and sort of from his perspective and him explain some things, I was like, you know what? Some of this stuff makes a little bit more sense. I kind of believe where he's coming from, and maybe his opinion has changed a little bit more. Maybe, like you said, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Maybe he's learning that as he's playing, and maybe these two guys are.
That line stuck out to
more
me
cool.
the most. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the assurance
I
that you
thought because
got there.
it goes twofold too, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
took it as maybe Celtics fans don't know that, or maybe guys out there who want to see these guys split don't know that, but also they're realizing that too. Like the grass isn't always greener for them. They don't want to be 2 years removed from a breakup and think, man, why didn't we work on that? Why didn't we make that work? And I thought him talking about the 2019 team, illustrated that as well. Like, man, we had so much talent. We had all these guys in here. Why didn't we go to the NBA Finals? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's all that is educational for him. He's taking all that in. And yeah, Jimmy, for sure. I listening to that podcast, I thought he sort of just let it all out, sort of, unwind a bit with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw a guy who's maturing, who's telling the first 4 or 5 years of his career and seeing the difference and seeing how much he's learned, thus far.
Well, there's three things at play there that I want to hit on quick, because he also talked about the fact that they were in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 of those first however many years there, and they were making deep playoff runs and they were winning all those different games. And something he's talked about a little bit before that I think is really starting to hit him now is that it's not easy to get to that point. 2 seasons in now where they have struggled immensely just to get to the home court line in the East, and that's working hard night in and night out just to be in games. We've seen it these last few years. He's realizing how hard this is to carry a team, to be that number one guy. And this is really the first year that he is that number one guy, right? Because they had Kemba last year in that role. So this is him starting to realize that, yeah, I might have to change some things, because I think for both of these guys, what Sherrod hit on, are they doing these things intentionally, or is it just subconsciously the way they're playing and the way they're leading? Well, it always worked for both of them. Like, it got them to this point. They've had all this success, and I think they have had a lot of success at this point. But what I think is also true is that they're young. They're not young in experience, but they're young in terms of who they are and the roles they're in and stepping into being the number one and number two options on a team. So they tried these things for a year and a half. They just kept punching a wall and they just kept losing games the same way. And at some point, I think both of them realized, all right, we have to change. We have to have a conversation, right? Josue, you talked about the fact that like
they
never
this year.
They would never do it. And then after that Knicks collapse, it's like, oh, geez, like we got to get on the same page here. And remember Brown after that game saying, all right, we had a little conversation just to make sure we're on the same page here. So they both got out of their comfort zone a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought it's an elephant in the room. And it wouldn't shock me, as he alluded to in the podcast, that they were like partly jokingly but half serious, like, hey, you want to stay here, right?
Hey,
like,
man, yeah, you're not leaving, are you?
You're not just like towing the line and just saying, well, I'm under contract, let's just see what happens. Like, you actually want to be, like, you believe in all this, right? And I think that could have opened up a lot of dialogue that they've never had, honestly. But go ahead, Sherrod. What do you got?
They have to ask each other that, then sure as hell we're gonna be asking ourselves that too. Sherrod, what's up?
Well, being a 500 team doesn't help,
Well, right, and I think ultimately that's really what, frankly, moved the needle for both of them, is the fact that your team is 500 and you're a damn all-star. How does that work? How do you have 2 all-stars, both under 25, and you're a 500 team? Clearly, there's something that you are not doing that you need to do. You need to make changes. And the point that we're talking about earlier, they're still in their infancy stage in this whole face of the franchise
Yes.
that they're both in. And I
Yeah.
don't, because they had so much success so early that we were just, without really realizing, we were conditioned to believe that, well, they're young, they're getting this far now, they're a little bit older, so they're naturally going to make that next jump. And that's the one thing that I know Brad Stevens talked about this a lot. And damn near any coach you spend any time around will talk to you about. It's not that hard to go from bad to okay. It's not that hard to go from okay to good. But when you want to get great, that's the hard part. That's where you have to make sacrifices. That's where your game has to be crafted and catered and shaped in a way that you may not be comfortable with. I don't think Jason Tatum is thrilled about getting 6, 7, 8 dimes, but if that I can still get 25 points and get 6 dimes and a win, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do
So
that.
that's the big question. I
Is
don't
that
know that,
why?
Sherrod.
Is that why LeBron went to
Is
Miami, Sherrod? Is that why?
LeBron
that's going
went
to
to
be the
Miami
big
because he was in
question for this
Cleveland.
group.
You spend time in Cleveland, you want to go to Miami too.
He couldn't be great in Cleveland, Sherrod. Ah, come on.
Sherrod, let me ask you that one because that's a great point. Are they going to keep being comfortable doing these things? So these aren't easy things, especially the way they're running offense. We've talked about just how hard it is to create quality shots and get inside every time and do all the things that they're doing. I don't have a good sense of whether they're enjoying that. I'm sure they're enjoying the results of it, but at some point, do you go back to old habits? We haven't seen it lately, but it's
I don't think
possible.
they're gonna go. I don't think they're gonna go back, and here's why: because they're still production wise doing what they were doing before. In fact, they're just doing more now. And I think
Yeah.
that they understand that as a leader of the team, as the go-to guys, you have to do more. And if you're doing more and you're winning, then you're doing the right thing. You're making the right basketball plays. They're doing more positive things that impact winning besides scoring now than they used to. It was as if there was a point where if Tatum didn't get you 30, 35 points, you're probably not going to win. He can go out there and get you 15, 20 points now and have like 6, 7, 8 assists, 7, 8 rebounds, a couple steals, a block, and it's a great night. And that, to me, is part of their maturity, their growth, and their understanding of what it takes to be a championship contender. Right now, they're a good team, and they've got the potential to really scare the crap out of a lot of teams come playoff time. But I still think they're still a notch or two below being a legitimate, bona fide. This is a no-brainer. They're competing for a title. They're not. I don't think that
They're getting there.
they're
Yeah, I think they're
definitely
getting there. I think
getting
they're
there.
getting there
They're
too. I think
definitely getting there.
they're closer today than they were, earlier this season. The big thing that came for me out of that thing is that I'm much more on board with Tatum and Brown leading this team to however far they can go than I was before I heard that
That was your
interview.
big
And
question, Jimmy.
yeah,
Well,
totally.
welcome to the club, Jimmy. Welcome. We got a
I'm,
spot
I'm,
for you.
I'm much more on board with it than
Have a
I mean,
seat.
I think there was a lot of people out there who said, "Listen, one of these
Oh,
guys is
you
going to
were.
have to go."
I think you're right. I think there were a lot of people, and a lot of people were wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe, or I don't think they were wrong at the time. I think there was every reason.
No,
to
they were
feel
wrong. No.
every reason they had to feel the way they felt. I think was
John's been absent a
was
little
fair.
often lately.
Oh
fair,
man, John's gonna come in hot when he comes back. I can't
But the
wait.
way that they're playing, the things that they're saying, if what they're saying is
This
true,
is your team.
if
That's what
these
John
two
said.
guys truly do want to play together and truly do want to play here, then you absolutely keep them together. You don't make the Beal trade. You don't make whatever other major trade that you were thinking about making. You don't do any of that. You try
Trading
to build
Brown
around
would have
these
been the
guys.
craziest thing in the
Right.
world.
I mean, and Bobby, we were both guilty of saying, "Oh, like the Harden trade would have been, that would have been sweet
Yo,
if they did that." But that looks
Bobby,
like
you were
that
thinking
could have
about it.
backfired.
You were thinking about it.
So
Yeah, just because of what I would have given last year's team. But
right, exactly.
I think we were wrong just looking at where Harden went.
Right. I mean, we don't know what would happen last year, but that's besides the point. Anyways, I'm just saying, like, there's
That
a
feels
lot more
like that
confidence.
feels like decades ago now.
There's a lot more
Last year.
confidence around these two guys today than there has ever been, I think. So, and now with the emergence of Rob, this is what we talked about a lot on Discord last night too. Rob kind of gives you that third star. He's the X factor that kind of takes you to that next level.
Ooh,
that
let
you guys
me
are
talk
talking
about Rob real quick because never mind trading Brown. We kicked around trading Rob. And I was pretty loose with that one. Like, I didn't believe that
Right.
there's this upper echelon, there's this all-star level
Okay.
in him. I love a lot of the things he does. I love a lot of the moments he flashed there. And I was obviously one of his biggest skeptics last year, just in terms of the little pieces that he couldn't put together and what prevented him from being a
You didn't want
starter
him
and
to
the
play.
injuries and all the rest. Yeah. Man, He's doing it at a pretty consistent rate here, and he's kind of the anchor of all this. He's
Sounds like
doing
an
all the little
apology,
things.
Bobby.
Yeah.
For sure.
It sounds
Where's Ahmed at?
Some
Ahmed, get
would,
that apology
some would
cam up
say.
there.
And it's not even an apology of like, oh, this I didn't think this guy was going to be anything. You always knew he had special attributes, but now
Oh,
you
man.
look at
There it is. John's gonna be so sad that he missed this. It's okay. We'll get you for another one too.
so there was one guy I would have traded Rob for absolutely, and it would have been Sabonis. That's obviously out
not
the window
horrible.
now. That's obviously out the window now, and now I think we've reached a point with Rob where he's untouchable. And that's not a place I was in a couple weeks ago or a month ago or
Not at
anything
all.
like that. I mean, he's definitively part of this core just because of the groundwork, the baseline that he gives this defense. And then on offense, you see all the little things he does there too. He dominated the early part of this game when Drummond was in there and he was just rolling. And all he has to do really is roll, pass, and that's before he starts to add other parts of his game. He's hitting more free throws now. He's staying on the court longer. He's fouling less tonight. Throw that out the window because he did foul a lot tonight. I don't know how many times I can just keep saying these things about him because he's doing it consistently. And he's another one of these guys who has been so inconsistent in years past. And now he's just one of the guys that you know exactly what you're going to get in and night out. And listen, he should be in the most improved conversation, right?
No.
You mean
He
was barely-
behind Grant, according to
No.
Sherrod and Josue.
I mean, look. The guy that's
I still
most likely
take
going to win
Grant.
that is Desmond Bain. Desmond Bain, our good friend.
I'm not saying he should win. I'm saying maybe top
Sure.
5, 10 in voting.
Point being that
top
he's
10. Yes, I'll give you
greatly
top 10.
improved. Yeah,
Yes.
fairly improved for
Yes,
sure. And
but the thing
you go.
about him, Jimmy, and I'll just say this real quick, is that
no, don't rush.
he's gotten a lot better, but you still see even more room to get better. Like he still doesn't have a face-up game. He still doesn't, have multiple moves on the block in the post. I mean, once he starts developing some more moves and he develops more of a 15-foot shot, which I think he has, he just doesn't take.
He gave up on that though, didn't he, Sherrod? Like, remember that was like.
It felt like he did. Yeah, it felt like
he hasn't even tried one in a long time. Yeah.
He's like, yo, I
Yeah,
can just catch lobs instead. All right, I'll just do that.
Yeah, if it felt like it's just a notch above more frequent than Ben Simmons taking a 3-point shot. Or shot outside
Pretty
the
much.
paint.
That's what it felt.
It's not.
Like. That's what it feels
It's
like,
not
yeah.
that. It's not that bad, but it's not that much better either.
Well, imagine
Right.
if Simmons just rolled to the rim every time and he made that his job. So Rob knows what his job is right now. And yes, I think we'd all like to see him expand beyond that to become an all-star level player because he's going to have to do other stuff to become an all-star. He can't just be the king of lobs and blocks and make the all-star game that way. He's going to have to eventually do other things. And I
He
still
makes
don't
free
know if
throws
he's gonna
too,
get
Bobby. He can make his free throws. Pretty damn good
Yes.
for a big.
Yeah, from what we've seen, he doesn't
All-star
get there a
game.
ton.
They can get there more often though.
He-
I think that's how you become a double-digit scorer. You know. Like,
He's clutch. His clutch free throws. I think he's is he 100% this year? He's right up
I
there.
think so. He's
Yeah.
He
right
was
up
perfect
there.
tonight, wasn't he? Yeah, 4 for
100%.
4
Yeah, I'm
tonight.
just talking in the clutch, but then that
Oh,
was the
yeah.
Chicago
Yeah.
game that he really won. Listen,
Yeah.
I got nothing
Yeah.
left bad to say about Rob. It's all good right there. And listen, this is
Yeah,
Ime's quote after
been
the game.
availability. Availability has been the thing for me with Rob, and if he can stay on the
That's
court,
the biggest difference. Yeah.
and play hard,
Have
when
you
he's
heard-
out there, then sky's the limit, like Sherrod said.
What's the quote
have
you
you-
got, Bobby?
Have you heard a quote like this from Ime this year? Happy about everything.
No,
Everything.
Oh,
no
yeah.
nitpicks from Ime.
No,
he
I
didn't
have
say
not.
that.
hey,
That Detroit game is
wow.
not going to go well.
Trap game.
everything is awesome.
12 o'clock start. Are you guys ready?
12 o'clock start. Yeah,
Dude.
that's what I'm
Is that-
saying. It's out.
I'll be ready for that.
He just jinxed it. I'm surprised he said that. In all seriousness, guys.
You're not going to
I didn't
lose
think
to
this-
Detroit again.
We doing
Oh, Bobby, you
we
just
doing
said
Bloody
that,
Marys
Bobby. Why
for the
did you
Celtics
say
or what?
Guys, tune in. all right?
I'm confident
Saturday
in that one.
afternoon. It's a noon. Tip-off's at noon.
Tip-off
It's a
at
nooner.
noon.
We'll be on. We'll be on during the day. If they lose, I think we'll get more viewers. Honestly,
We'll be
That's-
doing
that's
Bloody
what-
Marys
what's
and
gonna happen.
mimosas in the morning. We might
Yeah,
do a little,
join us for brunch. Right.
little pregame Discord, maybe. Who knows? We'll mix it up.
Hopefully, I'm back in Boston. That snow's hitting tomorrow. I don't know if I'll make
Bobby,
it.
the last
Yeah,
time you
sure
were in
is.
Brooklyn, you turned it into a 3-day fiasco.
Yeah,
dude. You had to go
that's your
4
spot.
hours south.
You were not
man.
worried. You were not worried
I'm
about.
not taking the train back, or the plane back this time. I'm not going back to JFK.
Yeah, you
We're
couldn't
taking the
figure out
train.
couldn't figure out the airport.
Either way, you
situation.
won't mind. You won't mind. All right, guys. Final thoughts here. Jimmy, let's start with
You're right.
you. Heading into this one, what is it? Saturday against the Pistons on the road.
My final thought.
Don't let beef stew get you.
My final thought
yeah.
has nothing to do
The return
with,
of beef stew.
with anything that we've talked about tonight. One thing happened over All-Star break. I mentioned this to Discord. The whole KG snub of Ray Allen. Was it a snub? Was it not a snub? I don't know, because we also saw a picture of the three of them together, which if you are a Celtics fan, like from any age that remembers that championship, all you want is for these guys, all you should want is for these guys to be boys again and
Next
to just
month at
spread
KG
the
night.
love, and so that we can just celebrate them all and not have to talk about drama. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed. And also, I want to mention this. We had Cedric Maxwell on the Discord for a hot minute last night. He was in
Sure
rare
did.
form, and Cedric knows these guys better than most people do, and he may have hinted that maybe there's a truce happening between the three, and there might be, or he hopes that we may see Ray Allen at
They
Kevin
have
Garnett's
to do
jersey
it.
retirement ceremony. So
No,
that's
that'd
my
be
final
huge.
thought for the night. Is that I'm tired of talking about these guys and drama. I want to celebrate these guys, because the championship that they won, they always talk about it. It's a brotherhood. It's Ubuntu. It'll never be forgotten. Well, then they need to start living each day like that, and let bygones be bygones and move forward and
I
bring
saw,
Ray,
That's a good point.
bring
But this is-
Ray back into the club.
Listen, I agree with all that, but Jimmy, I don't think it was a snub. I just honestly think it was one of those moments where KG's just not trying to see that.
That's
He
kinda
knows
what
that they enjoyed a championship together. Like
Yeah.
seeing him and LeBron, he was just like, look at. I'm not trying to look at that right
And
now.
there were a lot
I'm
of
not mad at him.
players in
I'm
that
not mad at
video.
him.
In that video, there were a lot of players that were like doing their own thing, and while they were announcing all those guys, it wasn't like everyone was locked on to each player as
Yeah.
they were walking.
I think
Did
the
you
fact
see
that
how
you saw
giddy
them,
LeBron was though? LeBron was so giddy. Like, you could see
LeBron was
all his
ready
teeth were
to.
showing. Like,
Classic
come on.
LeBron, right?
KG's
LeBron
like, I
was
don't wanna
yucking
see
it up
this.
with everybody. The Oklahoma City, Cleveland, everybody was getting
Yeah.
LeBron's love,
KG
except the
didn't want to
Lakers.
see that.
Take that comment
Except
down.
the Lakers.
Take that
But,
comment down. That's garbage comment.
But
All right, Bobby, what's your final thought? What you got?
I'll continue on that
Sorry, I
one a
forgot
little
I'm
bit.
hosting.
I think the fact that you saw those three together in a photo, and I know we hate when the Celtics fans go, "Oh, look at this," but it's true. They got together, they took a photo, looked like
No, this is
things were
legit.
good. If this was
Yeah,
the
this
heat
was
of the
legit.
KG Ray beef, you would not have seen a photo of those three together. It would have been
Right.
a full-on
I
snub
think
for the whole weekend there.
shout out Pierce. He's been trying to bring them bridge that.
And Max,
that-
I saw Max. I
Max
saw
was
Max
good
in
too.
concessions ordering a pizza tonight. That was a nice,
There you go.
guy to run into tonight. But anyway, last thought on this one. Going into Detroit, I just can't see this team disappointing on Saturday. I know you don't want me to throw it away on a jinx or whatever you want to do, but I do not see them falling asleep on Saturday in Detroit. You can't lose to the Pistons twice in a row. The math just doesn't work out. The Pistons don't win that many games, so they'll be fine. I do like Cade Cunningham and the way that group's playing, though, and he was obviously great at All-Star Weekend.
Cunningham for the win. That's what's going to happen. Cunningham, game winner.
Damn, Josue.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, Sherrod, what you got?
Well,
Final thought.
handle your business. I mean, that's really what this has to be about. If you're the Boston Celtics, handle your business. Detroit, I get it. Detroit is one. They won a couple in a row. They beat the Celtics. They just beat Cleveland. I think it was tonight, which are two quality wins.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they are playing better basketball. There's no doubt about that. But that being said, they're still the Detroit Pistons, and they still kind of suck. And
I love
you
Cade
don't.
Cunningham.
Come on, Sherrod.
So-
They're kind of your team.
So handle your. They're the team I covered. When I covered them, they were good. They were winning championships. They were competing for the
There we
big
go.
chips.
Look what you did.
Now
Look what you did, Jimmy.
Now they're competing for like lottery tickets. So
They
it's
got a couple
Yeah,
of
How's
young
Elden
studs, though.
Elden Campbell
They're
doing?
trending in the right direction.
How the guys doing?
they're playing.
You know,
They're playing better.
You know,
They're
Sherrod's got
playing
a
better.
group text. 04
They're
champs.
playing better.
8 of
They're playing
13
better.
from Bagley tonight. 7 of 11 from Diallo. If that happens
just
again,
think-
you might lose.
I just think if you're the Celtics, you just need to handle your business, keep your antennas up, and ready to go to battle. Don't take these guys for granted, and that's the thing that they've been doing a great job with. They're not taking nights off. They're not assuming that because this team is one of the worst in the league that they can just show up and that will be enough. They're actually playing, and you're going to need to do that against Detroit because Detroit is feeling itself right now.
Yeah, I think the quick starts has been huge for the Celtics team. I mean, obviously, right?
You're
That's what
right.
propelled them to these, double-digit wins so regularly, I guess, throughout the past few weeks. But I mean, against a team like the Pistons, like this is listen, take this personal, like we don't have don't forget about what happened before the All-Star break, and I think that's gonna bode well with this team's identity and their swag, if you will, right? It's like what Jimmy talked about at the beginning of the show, like. This team just has a sort of different bounce to them now, the sort of attitude that you want to see more of. You want to see that Marcus Smart, style of approach throughout. And I think that's what you're seeing, especially when they start off games the way they have been, defensively, which leads out to huge fast break opportunities and a huge lead on offense. So more of
Someone
the same. I want to see that. More of the
Someone
same.
did say this in the comment. We don't have time to talk about it, but we should acknowledge it. Kemba Walker out for the year.
Yes, I saw that.
Talked
They're
about
shutting
that
him down.
yesterday in the Discord too.
Oh, all right, yeah, but
No, that's okay. You can bring it up.
that's a big development there. Especially, I think we were having some doubts about the Horford trade. I know John did a little bit. Bernardoni was talking about it's like, oh, you gave up Şengün and you gave up Kemba there. Maybe he could have helped you a little bit, but the way Horford's playing, and now unfortunately. You hate to be right about it, but getting off Kemba looks like a very critical move that this team made over the offseason. And Horford again tonight, we didn't talk about him, but this
He was
defensive
good.
season he's having is just tremendous. And he's obviously been one of your rocks in the starting lineup too. Even though as Josue said in the group chat during the game, can't hit a shot, he's doing pretty much everything else for you.
Yeah, he just keeps getting those wide open looks though. Like that's the thing. I'm just thinking it's a matter of time before they start falling. But yeah, that's my only thing about his game right now, or pretty much the last couple of months, right? He had that hot streak from behind the arc the first month of the season, and then it sort of dipped off since then. So
Too bad.
we'll see.
I mean, Jimmy, you know what happened to like Edelman at the end there with the Patriots? That looks like
Yeah.
what's happening to Kemba right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's sad. I mean, everyone who's ever covered Kemba or even just watched him play, it's hard to find anything negative to say about the guy. You hate to see what he's going through, and I have no idea what's next for him, but I hope that we get to see him on the court again, and just fingers crossed that he can make some sort of recovery and get back out there.
Yeah,
That's all I got on
no
that.
question. Yeah, this whole Knicks season too. I mean, you guys thought that they'd be a little better, right? Or was it just me? I mean, I know the
Everyone
fans did after last season, but this has been the last couple of months has just been.
I like
complete other
Fournier.
direction.
What a disaster that was.
Yeah. Oh, we
I
know
I
you
know.
like Fournier.
Yeah.
That's an apology can for another day, Bob.
I was gonna say we're
Only one
saving you
per
right
show.
now. All right, we're sparing Bobby right now. But all right, let's do it for us.
Hey,
Celtics
at least I
Postgame
do
Show.
it. No, everyone else out here can't handle it.
Hey, as soon as I'm wrong about something, I'll do it.
Saturday afternoon, we are back. Okay, All-Star break is done. We're back in the full swing of things. Sherrod will be out there. He loves Detroit, so he'll give us the coverage straight from the arena, and you guys know where to find all of our coverage as well. CLNSmedia.com. Follow us on YouTube, guys. If you haven't already, join Discord. As Jimmy talked about, a couple hours audio, just constantly texting each other stuff, and pretty much hour to hour updates of the quotes from the Celtics players, from Ime Udoka himself directly to your phone. It's like a group chat with all of us, guys. So
it's cool.
Why not join it?
YouTube links get shot up into there. Tweets that are important. Yeah, everything kind of goes through the old Discord, and you can sort of like hang out with like-minded people when it comes to the Celtics, fans of the Celtics, things like that. And then lastly, Coda.io. Don't forget our sponsor tonight, Coda.io. If you got a small business, big business, any business or no business, it's free to sign up and you can play around with it and you can figure out ways to incorporate multiple apps into one app and just make your business streamlined. Yeah, streamline is the word. I'm not gonna read the whole thing over again. I'll spare you guys. But Coda.io /party for free.
Check it out. He's Jimmy Toscano, Sherrod Blakely, for Bobby Manning. I am Josue Pavon. We'll see you guys next time. Saturday.